Hello everyone, my name is Robin and RWBY Volume 10 is not yet greenlit. This was confirmed at the RWBY Panel at RTX Austin 2023 this past weekend, which I attended. They also shared a bit of news about Volume 9's physical release, as well as a portion of what originally would have been the final episode of Volume 9. Let's start with that first big piece of news. Volume 10 is not yet greenlit. I had said that before in my previous speculation video, which I made mostly to soften the blow for people because I could pretty much tell that Volume 10's announcement wasn't going to happen. I said that a crew member would share on the panel that, quote, Volume 10 is not yet greenlit, but we are continuing to work with our partners to make something happen, end quote. And RWBY's showrunner, Carrie Shawcross, said those words almost verbatim on the panel. Being greenlit means being given a budget to pay your workers to make a show. So the fact that Volume 10 is not yet greenlit, I interpret it that Rooster Teeth cannot secure the necessary budget internally and needs to rely on external factors in order to make Volume 10 happen. I want to make it clear that this does not mean that RWBY is dead by any means. It's not healthy to spin that kind of narrative, that's just not how things work. What this means is that RWBY is now playing the same ballgame that many other shows and productions have to play in order for them to secure funding. It's just not a game that RWBY has had to play since at least Volume 7, since Volume 7, 8, and 9 were all greenlit at the exact same time and were treated as one long production behind the scenes. I do believe that Volume 10 will eventually get made, but it just might take longer as the crew shops around for more funding and announces it as soon as they get the chance to. On the flip side, some people have noted that both Red vs. Blue and Camp Camp have another season in development despite being on a bit of a hiatus. Those were both announced at RTX, but it's a bit of an apples to oranges comparison to question why RWBY was not greenlit if those two were. Both of those shows have a smaller budget in comparison, and entirely separate teams work on them from the ones that work on RWBY. They're just not beholden to exactly the same rules. And Red vs. Blue's new season, Restoration, is also its final season, so if it were successful, it's not like it's going to fund more RWBY, at least. Maybe that can work in RWBY's favor since there's no other show at RT Animation with nearly as much demand. At least, I hope that's how it works. I don't know if that's how it works, but if it could be, I hope it is. Now to talk about RWBY Volume 9 again. The Blu-ray and digital release will happen on October 3rd. That will also include the crew commentary, the episodic roundtable discussions, the Fairy Tales of Remnant miniseries, some episodes of RWBY Chibi, a gallery of concept art for RWBY Volume 9, and script-to-screen comparisons for select Volume 9 scenes. Also, if you're interested in the RWBY Volume 9 original soundtrack, it will be released on July 28th this month. It will include 44 tracks, and most of those are for the score. By the sound of it, the score tracks are broken up by each scene, not by each episode like Volume 8 was. And there are probably only 8 vocal tracks. I don't believe there is going to be a song in Volume 9's original soundtrack that was not in the show proper, and that means that there will be 8 tracks. And if you are into VTubers, Ruby Rose is becoming one in a sense. She will have a vlog-style series on YouTube as a VTuber somewhat soon. There was also an exhibit at RTX where fans could interact with her as a VTuber in person, and I am going to upload a compilation from that within the next week or so. Other than that, I should also share news about the Justice League and RWBY crossover movie Part 2. We had gotten this screenshot of it. We can see that the Justice League are no longer in teenage bodies, and Black Canary is present too, on the right. Yang and by proxy the rest of the Remnant characters likely all have new outfits. This screenshot is from a low angle, so it doesn't quite lend well to showing off the face shape. If you're feeling turned off by the shape of their faces and their jawlines, I would hold off on that until we see more. I don't know why they went with this screenshot. It doesn't really do the characters justice, but it is what we have. On the panel, the crew said that the crossover would be released in the fall. Also, a Twitter account known for accurately reporting on upcoming Warner Bros. Home media releases said that Part 2 would release on Halloween. And as an aside, this movie was directed by Issa Badiola and Dustin Matthews, whereas Part 1 was directed by Carrie Shawcross. The last piece of news is that RTX attendees saw 6 minutes of what originally would have been the final episode of Volume 9. The work was not finished, so we only saw an animatic, which is basically storyboards that are filmed together to make it look like they're in motion. And that 6 minutes was labeled as Volume 9 Chapter 12, so we now know that there was in fact 12 chapters to RWBY Volume 9 before it had to be cut for budget. I won't show anything more of the animatic than what you're seeing on screen now. You can find it yourself without leaving this website or this app. It's probably already been uploaded dozens of times, but I will give the gist of it though. Winter Schnee and Crow Bronwyn narrate the scene, catching the viewer up on Vacuo's situation and the general mood and malaise of the place. Winter suffers heavily from survivor's guilt and wouldn't want Weiss to see how much of a mess she thinks is left of humanity. But Crow, on the other hand, is optimistic about the situation. A memorial had been built for everyone involved in the fall of Atlas, and Crow stresses that everybody did follow through with RWBY's message that she gave via the Amity broadcast in Volume 8, Chapter 5. At the end, Raven Bronwyn's portal opens before Crow, as Raven brings Team RWBY and Jean to reunite with the rest of their friends. And this was going to be the last beat of RWBY Volume 9 originally, an actual reunion in Remnant in Vacuo with the rest of the crew. And this scene will be placed slightly modified in the Volume 10 premiere once it does get greenlit. And there you have it. That is all of the news that I have to share from the RWBY panel. If you want to be caught up on the rest of the panel itself, such as Q&A and merchandise and other things like that, That Kaito Dan has also released a video on his channel, so I'm linking that in the description. Other than that, as always, all of my sources are linked in the description below, the main one for this video being the panel itself. Rooster Teeth has always recorded and archived the panel online, so once they do that, I will include the link so that you can check it out for yourself. However, it will probably take 1 or 2 weeks after this video goes up for that to happen. So what do you think about this news, as well as where Volume 10 looks to be? Let me know down below. And while you're around, like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. I'm Robin Rising. Have a good one.